Thanks for joining us today. At City Life, we have one purpose, making it easy for people to say yes to Jesus. We believe that today's message will empower you to do exactly that. But remember that church is so much more than a sermon you listen to. It's a living, breathing community that we invite you to be part of. We hope to see you this Sunday morning here at City Life.
More than a fan, out of the stands and into the game. If you have ever played a team sport, come on, how many of you know it's way more fun to be on the field, way more fun to be on the court or on the ice than it is in the stands? Isn't this true? Do you know why? Nobody cheers for fans. Nobody turns around and go, awesome, well done, nice beer salute. Nobody does that. You know, they don't. Nobody cheers for the fans. Players know the thrill of being in the game. And you know, when Jesus walked the earth, he had a lot of fans. And he had a crowd that continually followed him all over the place. Usually they were looking for food. Usually they were looking for Jesus to do something for them or to fix something about their lives or about their circumstance. And you know what? Jesus loved helping them. He loved fixing their broken lives. He loved feeding them. He loved healing them. But it was the followers that changed the world. It was the followers that he later gave them his very life. So it wasn't the fans that were carriers of his life. It was the followers. Those that followed Jesus became carriers of his life and of his spirit. And you know, I don't know about you, but I want to be one of those followers that changes the world. And we live in this world, and we can't just do it by our own power and strength. I think if if you're alive and you're cognizant. Most babies aren't cognizant, like they don't know what's going on. But you're alive enough, and you can think and reason. And you realize I can't do this life on my own. I kind of need some help. And you know, we want to be those that are followers that change the world. And, you know, in the series, we've been talking about team building, the benefits of being on team. And last week, Jen talked about increasing our capacity, having a larger capacity. Well, today we're going to talk about muscle mass. Muscle mass. And I admit I'm not an expert, as you can see. I don't have the guns that my husband does. But I am living with a CrossFit husband. Any CrossFitters? Any guys that work out? There's a few of you guys are CrossFitters. Some of you guys just work out on your own because you know what you're doing. But I am not me as an expert. But I'm learning a lot. I'm learning that there's a lot of pain involved with CrossFit. Because I learn how sore my husband is all the time. Because after every workout, he comes home and I hear all about the 1,000 lunges that he did and the 5,000 burpees and then the medicine ball Russian twists. Is that what they're called? Or something like that. I don't even know what they're all called. All I know is that I'm not inspired to join CrossFit because when he comes home and I hear the stories, I'm starting to get nauseous listening to the stories. I'm like, I haven't even had breakfast yet. Don't talk to me. But there's something about, I have learned something valuable. And one of the valuable things is that I'm learning from my husband who knows what he's doing is you can't just do the same exercises over and over expecting to build strength. You've got to expose yourself to new motion, new routine, new exercises that will engage your muscles in a different way. Now, actually, this is one thing that I did know. I just like to avoid it. Because I like to do yoga. I like to go to hot yoga where I like to go in. I like to do my yoga flow. It's just I go in, I do the same routine. They lead you through the routine. And yoga's a lot more smoother. It's like you do the movements with breath. And it's a lot more, oh, yes. And it's up and then you can do warrior poses because you feel like you're pretty strong and, you know, the Matrix or whatever that was. I don't know. But like CrossFit, it's just like, gosh, why would you do that? It's like, but there is one instructor in yoga that I do not like. Actually, I shouldn't say I like her. I hate her class. I hate her class because she doesn't stick to the routine. She forces us to engage muscle groups that we don't normally engage. She forces us to use muscles you didn't even know you had. And she tells you to do stuff that you just want to say, shut up and leave me alone. I want to just flow. I almost walked out of her class this week. I honestly did. It was all just like, it's going to look bad if I pick up my mat and walk. Sorry if you're not from church. That's like a Bible story that every kid in Sunday school had heard at some point in time, which I totally did not mean to do that. But I don't like her classes because they hurt. And what's even worse is I pay her to hurt me. There's something wrong with this picture. But if I want to build strength, I can't just stick with what's familiar and nice. You know what? This applies in life if we're going to be people of strength. If we're going to be more than a fan. And you know what? You've been made to be more than a fan. We don't just want to be fans that just kind of go through life watching everybody else do their thing. And we need that strength in our life. And this applies if we're going to be people of strength and we want to be strong in our spirit. So growing spiritual muscle and strength involves exposing yourself to different moves, intentionally engaging muscles you might not normally use. And see, we want to be people of spiritual strength. See, you're not just a soul in a body. You are a spirit that has a soul and you live in a body. And we've been made for a different world. We've been made for a world that is not broken, a world that is beautiful, a world that is perfect, but unfortunately our world is broken. Very easy to see that. And so, but we've been made, we want spiritual strength. And in order to, we got to grow muscles that we didn't even know we had. We got to engage muscles we didn't know we had. And you know what, maybe for you this means exposing yourself to community or new attitudes or ways of thinking that seem foreign, or maybe even exercising your faith in a way that you've never exercised it before. And see, more than a fan is saying no to easy and yes to building spiritual strength. And that's what we want to build. We don't, see, how many of you know, typically it's the players that have the well-formed muscles. Isn't this true? It's the players that has nice guns, nice eyes. Fans, on the other hand, usually they're quite flabby. Do you look around? They have developed other body parts larger that are not really helpful for running around on the field a lot. But fans, we don't want to be flabby fans, right? We want to be fit followers. And if we're going to be followers of Jesus, we want to be well-equipped followers who have well-developed, well-exercised muscles of faith. And you know, you might even be here thinking, you know what? I am quite happy being a fan. I like being a fan. Got a nice view. I just sit here and drink my beer. I'm fine. My life is pretty good. I think I've got it down pretty good. Everything's okay, you know? Or maybe you're thinking, you know what? I ain't even a fan. I don't have any use for this religious stuff. I don't have any use for this God stuff. I'm doing pretty good on my own. Here's the thing. If you're going to keep building strength, even if your life is pretty good, if you're going to keep building your pretty good or pretty okay life, you're still going to need to expose yourself to new exercises, new situations, new routines in order to get to muscles that you've maybe never used before, but could actually be critical for situations that are coming up in your future. See, what if you could develop a muscle that would enable you to be able to navigate a curveball in life, something that you just weren't expecting? What if you could develop a muscle that would carry you through a storm in life, or help you make it through university or college, or help you raise teenagers or raise 2-year-olds? What if you could develop a muscle that could enable you to live with more contentment, more peace, more stability in life, more joy? What if you could develop a muscle that could enable you to actually repair the brokenness you see all around you in the world? You have a muscle that you can develop to do all of those things. And I want to help you learn how to develop those muscles. That's what we're going to look at. And here's the thing. In order to build muscle strength, we need to be okay with discomfort. And we typically don't like that because we like things nice and comfortable, don't we? We like to be comfortable. And here's one of the most challenging exercises for us Westerners to intentionally engage in is something called we over me. We over me. It's about doing life in connected community. And see, this we over me mindset, this is so vital because it is directly countercultural to the world that we live in. We live in a world in our society that is so disconnected. It's so isolated. It's very me-focused, isn't it? It's true. How many of you can go out in public and leave your phone put away for more than 5 minutes? Here's a better one. How many of you can stand in a public place, whether it's in a line or you're waiting for someone or just waiting for the bus or something, and not pull out your phone? It's like, why do we do that? It's because I don't want anybody to talk to me because I don't know what to say, and I don't want to have to think about a conversation because I can't edit it because it's coming out live. It's like, we have the phone there. Our phone is our protective screen, and it's funny that we think a 4x6 piece of metal and glass can protect us. But we live this way, don't we? We do. Our world is disconnected, and I got a phone. If you got a phone, it's okay. If you're using your phone to hide right now, well, you can just pretend you're taking notes, and nobody will look down on you. But you know what? Following Jesus, putting your faith and trust in Jesus is personal, but it's not individualistic. And it only works in community. And see, becoming more than a fan, becoming a follower is about doing this, living a connected life. And, I love in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 27, what Paul was saying to the church in Corinth. And if you're not familiar with Paul, he wrote a lot of what's called the New Testament. And he wrote a couple letters to the church in Corinth. And the reason he did that is because they were really messed up. Corinth was a crazy city that was a melting pot for all sorts of cultures. And now all of these people, they were becoming followers of Jesus, and they were learning how to live together. And they were all so different. They came not just from different upbringings, they were just like different. It's like some came from cultures where, you left your children, if you had too many, you just left them on the rocks to die. And other cultures, you'd sell your kids into slavery. And all these people were living together, and they were crazy. There was the craziest stuff going on in the church of Corinth than any of the other churches that Paul ministered in. And so that's why I had to write them so many letters, because he was trying to straighten them out. They were really messed up. But look at what he said in 1 Corinthians 12. He said, you are Christ's body. That's who you are. You must never forget this. Only as you accept your part of that body does your part mean anything. See, our life finds its significance in God's family. That's what the church is. It's his family. It's his house. And that's why Paul compared it to a body. It's just like, that's where you might be walking around being a finger and you have no idea, what am I supposed to be in life? It's because you're missing a hand and 3 other fingers and a thumb. Or you might be walking along and you're just like, maybe you're an appendix. And you're just like, I don't know where to fit. Life seems really weird. It's because you need a body. There's certain body parts that only function when they're encased in community. It's true. Doing life in the connected community is a way our little part becomes greater, becomes stronger, because it's what it's a part of. It's because it's the bigger thing that it's connected to, and that's where life finds significance. And that's where you discover who you actually are. That's why God's family is so powerful. It's because you come in here, you belong before you believe. You don't have to believe everything that you believe. How many of you got family members that you don't believe everything they believe in? I do. I was raised in a pastor's home. I love my family, but I don't believe everything they believe. It's like, I still belong. You can belong in God's house even without believing all of the same stuff. And this is why community, though, is really, it's intentional. It's more than just showing up. Community isn't showing up to church. Community is where we intentionally do life together. It's where we're willing to allow ourselves to be known and to help others become known. It's where we share our stories. We encourage others to share our stories. Man, how much better would it be if we just, instead of, hey, how's the weather? If we'd say, tell me your story. Wouldn't that be more engaging? Tell me your story. Tell me something about your story that I don't know. Tell me a weird part about your story. Tell me something really bizarre about your story. Tell me something average about your story. Just tell me something. What's your story? That is way more engaging to ask somebody their story or to share your story than, oh, yeah, this is where I go to school. This is what I do for work. Which is okay. If you don't like talking to people and that's where you're at, that's awesome. But our story, there's something powerful. Community. So we share our stories. It's where we carry each other's burdens. It's where we laugh. And we like laughing a lot here. You know, if you're not, if you're just get new to City Life or your first time here, we're crazy here. And we are fully aware of that, and we own it. And we just coined a new phrase today. It's called, we do awkward. We're not worried. I don't even know what I said. What did I say? We're okay with awkward? We're okay with awkward. We do awkward well. And we like laughing at ourselves. And we'll make you feel awkward in a good way. Because I think we all need to feel more awkward. Because we all feel awkward anyway in life. Why don't we just own it and laugh about it? Because everybody in this room is feeling awkward right now because I'm talking about being awkward. You are. It's just like somebody's like, oh, this is awkward. Would you please shut up and get on with it? Like, but it is. There's something about when you get in a room with a whole bunch of other awkward people and everybody recognizes they're awkward and they own they're awkward. And they own it, and we all just laugh together. We laugh with each other. We don't laugh at each other, except if you know them really well, then you can laugh at them. But don't laugh at them if you don't know them well. You're kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go behind somewhere and laugh. I used to do it lots with my kids because they would do stuff. And you're just like, as a parent, you cannot laugh. But it's so funny. It's like, I can't punish you, you do it. Mike and I would have these conversations all the time. It's like, I can't do it. You're on, and the other one is in the bedroom laughing. This is what family is. This is what kids is. Not because we're spanking our kids, but because it was what they did was funny. But this is what family's about. We laugh together. Family is where we all contribute with our time, our talent, and our resources. Man, have you ever played sports where you had some that were, they were called the poser players or the freeloaders? They didn't actually do the work. They just liked the jersey. It's so funny. My daughter, she's not watching. She won't mind me if I tell this story, but she was so funny. When one year the kids decided they wanted to play soccer, and it lasted for I don't know why. I think it was because I don't even know. I think soccer was a trend in kids' movies at that time. And I think Sam liked the idea of running around and being with people. I don't know. Kaylin maybe liked the jersey or something. But I remember once we get out in the field, and Samara, all she did was stand at the back by the goalie and talk to the other team members. She didn't do anything. Oh, the whole time. She'd stand back there, and she's having a conversation with the little girl, and the rest of the team is chasing the ball, and she's just back here doing her own thing. She was a poser. When's a snack? That's exactly what it was. Oh, it's amazing, Mike. Talk about when your kids are on the other side of the world. But you know what? We all contribute. Community is where we help each other keep the pace of the race. Maybe you tried running. You run by yourself. It's horrible because you usually try to run to get it over with. So I'm done. I did my running, and usually you wear yourself out before you're done. But when you're running, see, the key to running long distance is when you have a running partner and you can have a conversation with him. Because the perfect pace that will enable you to go a long time is having a conversation with the person. And so as long as you're talking, you're not overextending yourself. As long as you're talking to somebody, you're not over-breathing. You're breathing right. But as minute you start, you're all by yourself and you just start running crazy, you're going to lose it. You know what? We need people in life that are going to help us keep pace with life. That when life gets crazy, they're like, hey, just slow down. Talk to me. Community. Community is scary because it's way more comfortable to be disconnected, isn't it? But when we live disconnected, that's when life breaks down. It's when relationships break down. It's when we break down. We're not made to function that way. But when we live in community, man, that's when we become stronger. We become more of who God made us to be. We become more fully human. So maybe community, intentional community, is a new muscle you could engage in. It's a muscle that will build new strength into your life. Everyone say, build muscle. Build muscle. Here's the second thing. There's something else that's really important, though, if we're going to develop real strength. And it's called stretching. This is where yoga beats muscle weightlifting hands down all the time. Stretching, because it's so good for you. Healthy exercise incorporates both strength and stretching. You need resistance, but you also need stretching, because what stretching does for your muscles, it gives you range of motions. If all you have is just weight, resistance, you're just building muscle mass, you just get puffed up muscles and everything just gets tighter and tighter. That's why, have you ever seen that syndrome? It's true. You need flexibility, and that's where stretching happens. How many of you have ever had a sports or a workout injury or know somebody that has? You know, most sports injuries could be avoided, or they usually happen because people didn't stretch or they didn't stretch properly. And the same goes for developing spiritual muscle. See, there are a lot of people walking around with a faith injury because they weren't stretching in the right way. You know, even if you go to games, a lot of times the fans in the stands, they were actually players at one time, but an injury took them out of the game. And see, a faith injury is where we have disappointment, where we have doubt, where there's bitterness, resentment. Things like apathy and complacency, they're all a result of a faith injury. See, in the sports world, an injury can cost you your career, but here's the good news about following Jesus. A faith injury, today is always the day for a brand new start. Today is always the day for a brand new possibility. There is always the chance, there is always the opportunity to repair what has been injured. And I want to show you how this relates to our spiritual strength, because stretching is all about extending our faith muscles. Faith is a muscle. Faith isn't just a way of believing. Faith isn't just a way of seeing. Faith is a muscle. It's a spiritual muscle that we have. But faith isn't just about what you believe, it's the way you believe. And see, the number one stretching exercise that you can't do without is what I want to show you. See, you can do all the other faith stretching exercises. I'm going to try to pray. I'm going to try to read my Bible. I'm going to try to believe for this. I'm going to try to change. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that. You can be doing all sorts of faith stretching exercises, but if you're not doing this one, none of the others are going to work. You're still going to find yourself injured at some point in time. The most vital thing our faith is for, you want to know what it is? Okay, you don't. So I'll just go on and we'll wrap up. We can all stand right now. We're going to pray. The number one thing our faith is for is believing, living in, and living from the new creation reality that Jesus started at the cross through his life, through his death, and through his resurrection. This is the most important thing that we can stretch our faith to believe, to stretch our faith. This is the way we stretch our faith. Why is this so important? Well, because it changes everything. It's the difference between going through life with injured faith and actually having well-developed spiritual muscles. It's a difference that will enable you to live life fully alive and fulfilling the life that God created you to fulfill, that he created you for. And see, the injury results when we wrongly believe that faith is for getting or receiving. That's when we get injured, when we think if my faith was stronger, then I would get blank, whatever it is you're believing for. If I would have just had more faith, then God would have done blank. If I just had more faith, if I just got more faith, then maybe God would. Then God, would you please? And see, that's where we get these injuries in our faith. It's because that's not really what our faith is for. Hebrews 11:39-40. I want to read a couple verses. And these, if you're not familiar with Hebrews chapter 11, it's called the faith chapter because it's stories of heroes of faith, men and women who, they saw God do crazy things because of their faith. But there's also a second group in this chapter. And this second group is the these this sentence starts with and who it's describing. In Hebrews chapter 11:39, it says, these, though commended by God for their great faith, did not receive. I want you to say that. Say, did not receive. They did not receive what was promised. That promise has awaited us who receive the better thing that God has provided in these last days so that with us, our forebears might finally see the promise complete. Well, this is crazy. It says these people were commended by God for their great faith, but they did not receive. And being commended by God means God saying, well done. Great job. You're powerful. Awesome. I am well pleased with you. And they did not receive what was promised. Receiving is not the mark of faith that works, of faith that's strong, of faith that's functional. See, what is faith? Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the assurance of things you've hoped for, the absolute conviction that there are realities you've never seen. See, what is our faith muscle for above everything else? It's holding on to the absolute conviction that there are realities that I've never seen. That there is another reality that's real in this world now. I can't see it. And it's called the reality of God's new creation kingdom. And it's in that reality, that's where peace is. That's where God's power is. That's where God's promises are completely fulfilled. That's where we find our strength. That's where hope resides. That's where joy resides. It's in this new creation reality. And that reality is even more real than this reality we're in. See, this life that we're living in right now, it's a vapor, which means poof, it goes away so quickly. See, what are the realities? It's the promise. That's what Jesus were. He called this promise the good news, that there is a promise that what Jesus Christ has done, he has brought about God's new creation, God's kingdom reality here on earth through his life, death, and resurrection. God has started all things new. And even now, it's like he hit the reset button. So whatever is broken, whatever was not working, whatever is in captivity, whatever is dysfunctional, whatever is lost is now being made found, is now made whole, is now being set free. See, right now, we only see bits and pieces of this invisible new reality. We're not talking about being ostriches with our heads in the sand saying, everything's wonderful, and you're going, hell no, it's not. This sucks. My life sucks. My work sucks. My friends suck. Everything sucks. It's terrible. The world is messed up. Yes, it is. But there is a new creation. We see bits and pieces of it now. But here's the hope. Jesus is going to come back. And that's when everything is going to be made new. That's when everything you have lost is going to be restored. That's when everything that has been taken from you, God is going to give back so much greater than what you have lost. That's when the promise of fullness of joy is going to come. That's when there isn't going to be any more sorrow. There isn't going to be any more loss. There isn't going to be any more frustration. There isn't going to be any more dysfunction. There isn't going to be any more brokenness. There isn't going to be any more of us looking at us and thinking, what's wrong with me? We're going to be healed and hold Jesus and promise that the number one exercise of our faith muscle is to hold tightly to this new creation reality, because it's the true story that defines our lives. I love Hebrews 11:13. Listen to this. It says, these heroes all died, still clinging to their faith, not even receiving all that had been promised them. I love how it calls them heroes. Man, in our minds, we think the heroes are the ones that see this big thing happen and that big thing happen and this perfect. Their life is perfect. Their life is perfect. They always get all the breaks. And why does this happen? But it says the heroes all died, still clinging to their faith, not even receiving all that had been promised them. You know what Jesus promised? He promised that the rewards that we get in this life now, they're awesome. But if you don't get your rewards in this life, you're going to get them even bigger in the next life. If we hang on and don't let go. These heroes all died, still clinging to their faith, not even receiving all that had been promised them, but they saw beyond the horizon the fulfillment of their promises, and they gladly embraced it from afar. They all lived their lives on earth as those who belong to another realm. Isn't that powerful? They lived in a way, yes, my body is in this world. Yes, this world is messed up. But see, the reason that they were able to experience hope is because they were living in a different realm. They lived as those who belong to another realm. You know, I love what C.S. Lewis said. He said, if I find in myself a desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most logical explanation is that I was made for another world. Why is it do we have these things in us that are unfulfilled? Why do we feel broken? Why do we feel so distraught? Why do we feel like, God, there should be more? Why not this and why not this? It's because we're made for another realm. And see, one of the greatest functions of our faith is hanging tightly. There's this other realm. God, I don't feel joy, but I know that there's joy in this realm, and so I'm going to believe that. There's another verse in Hebrews that actually says it's by their faith we pull what's in that other realm into this realm. I can live from a place of life in the midst of death. When I live from this other realm, I can live from a place of hope when I am surrounded by despair. It's because of the reality of this other realm that I can find joy when there is no visible reason for joy. It's why I can live from a place of confidence and assurance, because I live from a different realm. I don't live with this world as what defines me as not enough. Rejected me, that song that we sang, I am chosen, not forsaken, I am who I say I am. When you sing that song, that's what it means to live from another realm. That's how we stretch our faith, believing God. Those aren't words on the screen, those words are true. Living from this other realm is what enables us to live from the place of love and grace and forgiveness when we are looking in the face of our abusers, when we have to go to school and look at the bullies, when we're looking in the face of our haters, people that have let us down. See, it's this other realm that is so real. And see, this is why Jesus needs fans and not followers. This is why he's calling the fans out of the stands to become followers. Because this new creation reality, it is real. But you know what? It is challenging to believe it's real. Because everything else in our world is so much louder, so much more in our face is all we see. It takes a different way of thinking, a different way of seeing and believing to believe there's something more real than the world that I'm living in. And you know, one of the most powerful illustrations I've heard to describe this is, how many of you ever stood in the surf, in the ocean, in the waves, when they come in? It's like when the waves are coming in, depending on what's happening, when the tide's coming, it can be pretty intense. And when the waves are coming in, what keeps them from completely washing up on shore, as they're coming in at the same time, there's something powerful as well. It's called the undertow. And when you're little and you're at the ocean, Mom's saying, stay out of the waves, you'll get sucked under by the undertow. And you know what? God's new creation reality, it can be almost compared to, it's like when the tide is coming in. It's coming in with force, and every time it comes in a little bit farther, overtaking the shore. It comes in a little bit farther, overtaking the shore. It comes in a little bit farther, but what's keeping it from completely breaking in and taking over is this undertow. And the undertow is our old broken creation, our old broken world that we live in, where there is heartache, where there is pain, where there is crazy stuff that happens in life that's not right, where there is disappointment, where there is frustration. And this old creation, it keeps pulling, but the new tide is so much stronger. It's coming in. That is the reality of what God has promised. And see, if we're not going to get, what do we need if we're not get carried out by the undertow? Is we need people of mass. We need to be a people of some muscle mass that are strong, and we put our feet in. We're like, no, I'm not getting pulled out by the undertow. You know, my husband who's got a lot more mass than me, he likes to surf. I don't like to surf because I constantly get knocked over by the waves. He's got a lot more mass, a lot more muscle mass than I do. You know what? We need to be people to build that kind of muscle mass that we can stand when the tide's coming in. We know it's coming in. I'm not getting pulled out by the undertow. I got my feet in. The undertow, you're not taking me out. I'm here. I'm standing. I live from another realm. Let's stand. I want you to close your eyes. I want to pray. And we're going to pray a prayer that's really saying, Jesus, this new reality that you started is what defines my life. I don't want to live being defined by a broken world that's full of hopelessness and despair, but I want to live defined by this new creation story. Yes, it is a stretch to believe it, but Jesus, I'm going to trust you. And we're going to pray. I want to invite you to pray out loud with me. Why don't you just pray? Let's pray together. Say, Jesus, thank you for everything that you started brand new. Thank you for freeing me. Thank you for starting a brand new story through your life, your death, your resurrection. Thank you for starting a new reality that's filled with life and freedom and hope. I put my trust in you, in what you've started. I want this new creation reality to define my life. Jesus, thank you for a brand new start today. Amen. Amen. Can we give God thanks? God, we thank you. God, we are so thankful. God, I thank you for a new thing that you're starting. God, that ability, God, I pray that you would even give us that ability to stretch. God, to make that stretch, to believe, Father, in something that is so real, even though we can't see it. God, we thank you that you are a faithful God and that you are for us, not against us. And God, we just make that decision. We are who you say we are. In Jesus' name, amen.
We hope today's message encouraged you. If you want to take your next step in saying yes to Jesus, you can always contact us at cty.lc or fill out the next step section on the City Life app. It's an honor as a church to play just a small part in what God is doing in your life. And we look forward to seeing you soon here at City Life.